Yesterday we spoke about leaving food before Shabbat on the fire, that it should cook on Shabbat. We all do that. But the Chachamim made a takana that you should use some sort of difference than usual. This is where the blech or the Shabbos plata comes in another word. Plata is another word that probably is a Yiddish word, but it became already a trademark. It's a special hot plate that's used for Shabbat, and it's a different type of cooking. It looks different than a normal cooking. And the reason for this is that the Chachamim didn't want us to forget that someone's going to come Friday night to look at his food and see it's not ready. He might turn up the fire to make it cook better, and therefore they made a takana. You have to have some sort of difference, which is the blech or the hot plate. Fine. So you're allowed to leave food before Shabbat to cook over Shabbat. Excellent. What happened in the following scenario? A person has his chamin, his cholent, his whatever hot food he put up Friday night cooking. He comes over and he wants to take a little bit. He wants to have a little bit of food Friday night. It's a long winter Friday night. He wants to eat. When he comes home at 10 o'clock from the shul, he went to learn, comes home, he's a little hungry, he wants to eat a little bit when he gets home from the chamin, and then put it back. Is he allowed to do that on Shabbat? Now this is much different than before. This is not leaving it on early before Shabbat and putting it on and letting it cook on Shabbat. This is a person who went on Shabbat, took it off the fire, and wants to put it back. That looks like an act of cooking. So here, this is called chazara, putting it back on. So if it's not cooked yet, which means if it's not fully cooked, if he took it off the thing, he sees it's not cooked, and he wants to put it back on, you have a big problem. If it's not cooked yet, you cannot put it back on. No discussion. You're cooking on Shabbat. The discussion comes, which is the most common case, is when it is cooked. It's already finished cooking. You're just leaving it on to keep warming till the morning or till the whatever. And you took it off, you took a little in your plate, whatever, and now you want to put it back on. Can you put it back on? It's already cooked. And once it's cooked already, midoraita, once something's cooked and you want to just warm it up, that's not cooking midoraita. But it looks like you're cooking. It looks like you're putting something on the fire on Shabbat. This is a D'Rabbanan type of cooking, in most cases. And therefore, in certain instances, you're allowed to return it on the fire. Which means if you have certain conditions met, if there are certain conditions that you fulfilled, you're allowed to return it on Shabbat. What are the conditions? Say it in short. Number one, of course, you're putting it back on a blech. Putting it back on a fire, which is not an open fire, it's covered. It's a Shabbos type of fire. Number two, as we mentioned, it's fully cooked. It's just warming. And number three, it has to be a davar yavesh. Davar yavesh means a dry type of food, like a kugel or something like that. Something that's not wet, it's not liquid. In those cases, you can take it off and put it back. Not only could you take it off on Shabbat and put it back, you could even put it on Shabbat. It was in the fridge. You come Shabbat morning, you want to put a kugel on the blech. You want to put your challah rolls. You want to put all these type of things on the blech. If he's putting it on a blech and it's something that was cooked already and it's dry, it's fine.
On the fire.
You can put it on a blech. On a blech.
Under the fire.
says you can put it on the blech, no problem.
Where the fire is.
Even
not
where the
just
fire
around
is.
the blech.
Even where the fire is. Others are more machmir. They say you should put it next to it.
Right.
But Hamavadi says you can put it directly on.
Oh wow. Didn't know that.
When it comes to a wet item, something which is wet, here it's much more chamur. Here, if it was in the fridge and you're putting it on Shabbat, you can never do that. It's a wet item, it's called cooking. But if you went on Shabbat, the case we started off with, you pulled it off on Shabbat, you took a little bit, you want to put it back on. There are certain instances where you could put it back on. What are the instances? If it's still boiling hot, it's still yad soledet bo, it's still very hot, and you didn't yet put it down permanently. You put it on a chair, you put it on the edge of the table. To say in short, you still had dot to put it back on. You don't necessarily need the dot, that's not the point, but the point is it was in a situation where it was trying to go back on. You put it on your kitchen table, but you were going to go back on. But if you put it permanently where it's supposed to be, when you take it off the fire, that's a sign that you've finished the cooking and you're doing a new cooking. You can't do a new cooking on Shabbat. Ashkenazim are a little more mekel. They say even if it cooled off as long as it's not totally cold, as long as it's still somewhat warm, you could still put it on. Ramavadi says you should not be mekel on that. If you want to be mekel, yes, the mamasha yismochu, but he says it's better not to be mekel on that. So basically, we have a kula to return something on the fire on Shabbat if you have certain conditions. Baruch Adonai Ne'olam. Amen ve'amen.